How you doing? And welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel, whichever it may be. Today I'm taking a look at the Hot Toys latest Batman Returns figure. A lot of controversy behind this figure. Just having a quick look at the box there, we have an image of the bat symbol with the snow around it, as we got in 1992 with the movie promos. An image of Gotham City just above that, and Batman Returns Batman 1/6 scale deluxe figure MMS 770 on the bottom. On the side there, same again, Batman Deluxe version MMS 770, and then on the back we have the usual warnings and information about Hot Toys. And in my usual form, while I pull the slipcover off, please don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps out the channel. And then we have some really nice artwork in black and white here. I'm pretty sure that is the figure on the box there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the figure. It kind of looks like a movie still, but I think it is the figure, and looks really good. And then we have the Penguin and Catwoman at the bottom there, and I really do think that that is a hint that Hot Toys are going to do a Penguin and a Catwoman figure eventually. I can't see a reason for them to put it on the box and not make the figures. I mean, they could have just left them out and not added them on the box at all. So I do believe that they are gonna make those figures, and that's why they've put them on the box, just to give us a little hint or a little tease as to what's to come. So there we have it for the box. So moving on, let's do a quick pan of the figure itself. So here we are for a quick pan of the latest Hot Toys Batman Returns figure. And just a few facts. When Michael Keaton was cast as Batman in 1988, there was huge backlash, as Keaton was more known for his comedy roles, and approximately 50,000 angry letters were sent to Warner Brothers in protest over the casting. And even the Wall Street Journal wrote a front page article about the studio's decision to cast Keaton as Batman. And Keaton suffers from mild claustrophobia, and given that the suit is essentially molded rubber and leather with no ventilation, which caused him some moments of panic attacks during shooting. And under the studio lights, the internal temperature of the suit reached up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's sometimes even higher than that. And in Batman Returns, Keaton cut more than half of his own dialogue. Keaton decided that the suit and the presence of the character spoke louder than words, which, looking at the end result, which was a fantastic idea. It was originally supposed to be a direct sequel to Batman '89, picking up immediately after the events of the first Batman. Subplots were to be Bruce proposing to Vicky Vale, exploring Jack Napier's backstory, and Harvey Dent was supposed to be central to the story, with Billy D. Williams eventually transforming into Two-Face. However, Warner Brothers wanted the Penguin as the main villain, and the story of a corrupt businessman, Max Schreck, aiding the Penguin in his plan to become mayor of Gotham, was drawn from 2 episodes of the '66 Batman series entitled His Honor the Penguin and Dishonor the Penguin. Now, I can go on all day about the history of Batman and Batman Returns, like subplots of Max Schreck and the Penguin actually originally supposed to be biological brothers. That idea was scrapped as well. There's so much more behind this movie, but I will leave it at that before we get too deep. So let's move on and have a look at the accessories that come with them. And here we are for all of the accessories. Well, most of them you can see just at the top of the screen there. There's one just off screen. Just starting off with his head sculpt, because my camera usually just tries to focus in on the best Michael Keaton head sculpt by far in 1/6 scale. We'll have a closer look at it a bit later on when it's on the body. But while I have it here, we have this cowl, this ripped cowl here that used to come with the 2-pack of the original one. It was kind of locked behind a paywall of a 2-pack, but now we get it a standard, or in the deluxe anyway, and the non-deluxe. And you can tell that the we have the upper part of it as well that he rips off and holds in his arm and his hands. So it's nice to have the 2 different looks if you already have the 1.0. And then we have the face plates. We'll have a look at those in a bit closer detail a bit later on. Much better than the 2.089 Batman, if you ask me. They look much more like Michael Keaton, although we do have a couple of goofy faceplates there in typical fashion for Michael Keaton faceplates. Then we have his hands. 9 hands in total, closed fists, hand for the grappling gun, batarang hands, hand for gripping some other pieces like this device here, an open palm gesturing hand, and 2 slightly closed gesturing hands as well. We do have this device here, which is, it's like a grappling gun where the grapples come out either side. And these parts do come out. These gripples just come out. If I can just pull them out, there we go. And these 2 pieces here on the rope, if you want to use the rope part, you just plug this piece in, which I know I'm going to struggle to do right now. You plug this piece in here and you unravel the wires. And, you know, you can attach them to something to mimic that scene. It would have been nicer to see them on a wire so you could mimic that, but not the end of the world. Not an accessory I'd be used. Maybe if they were in the wire, I might, but I'm not going to be tying them off on anything. Then we have the remote control batarang, or the boomerang batarang, whichever way you want to call it. We've gotten this before. It has the images of his targets on it there. A little bit of scuffing and weathering on it. Doesn't fold out, doesn't move, but it does the job. Then we have these little devices here that he shakes. He rattles them and throws one of them at Selena Kyle or Catwoman in the movie and hits her in the shoulder with it. We get 2 of those. And then we have the remote control for the Batmobile. And for the life of me, I can't remember what that device is for. I'm sure it'll come to me after we finish recording. And then we have these 2 little pieces here which go with what is slightly out of frame there. The glider wings, which we'll have a look at right now. And here we are for the glider wings. A little bit difficult to get fully into frame. Quite a wide wingspan on this that I can't get fully into frame. But these 2 pieces here are what clip it all together and keep it out. So it's kind of, it's better than what we used to get with the straight pole from the original Batman 89 figure, where you used to feed the pole into the cape. A little bit finicky to get all this together. You've got to clip this piece in the back of it and this piece in the front of it, or the back of it, whichever way you want to put it. If I can get it to clip in without too much hassle, there we go. And that keeps it all out. That kind of, you know, stabilizes it all and keeps it all out. And then just grabbing Batman there, you gotta fold this flap over here. This is all a bit awkward to do. Just put this piece over the neck, and the magnet attaches it to his back. There is a magnet on his back, and just kind of, whoa, nearly fell. We've got to futz with this piece here just to get it all lined up right, and then pop the cowl back on. If I can get it all lined up right, a little bit of futzing needs doing, but you get the idea. Now, you may have noticed when I popped the cowl on that the magnet actually moved out of place. The magnet is in the wrong place. Let me turn it around without knocking everything over. So that's it currently with the magnet in place. The moment that I pop the head sculpt on or the cowl on, it pushes it down and it comes off the magnet. They've put the magnet on a bit too high, and it's rendered useless on my version of it anyway. I don't know what other people's are like, but it renders the magnets useless once you clip the cowl on. It just pushes everything down. So little bit annoying, a little bit of a nuisance, a little bit of an issue. It still all holds in place. It still does the job. It's just not as stable as it could be if they'd have put the magnet in the right place. But you can see there that it's, you know, it wouldn't be wobbling like that if the magnet was actually a little bit lower and actually, you know, came into effect. But that's essentially it with the glider wings on, and you'd obviously be inclined to put his arms up like so. If you were going to be posing them like this, I'm not sure if I'd be leaving it like this long term. But there we kind of go there. Hopefully I don't damage anything. There we go. A little bit loose, as I said, because the magnet is rendered useless, but there we have it, essentially, with the glider wings on. Just let me pull this out there a bit, if we can get the whole thing into frame. That does look really cool. Not something I'm going to be doing, but it does look really cool. And then we have his base. Really, really nice addition to have this base here. It's made to look like, if I bring this light up a little bit, it's made to look like the roof of one of the buildings in Gotham City. Some really nice snow effects speckled around it. Really, really nicely done. There is 2 holes here for options for where you want to put the crotch grabber. Hot Toys are doing that with a lot of the figures lately, putting 2 portholes in for options as to where to put the crotch grabber. And there are 2 covers in the box somewhere around here that cover these up. I haven't got them at hand, but you can plug the holes there just to hide them. Really nice effect here on the brickwork. It looks magnificent. Lovely wash running through it there. Some nice hints of blue and grey on these sections here, and some snow speckling running through them. Really nice detail on the wash and the brickwork and that, and it's dynamic in the sense that you get 2 different attachments for it. You get Max Shrek's cat face logo for his business that pops onto the top of it there, if you want to have that on the front of it, or you get a gargoyle that goes on it as well, like so, whichever one you so choose. Absolutely fantastic base. Not a huge footprint on it either. It's quite small. It's not too imposing. Really happy with this base. Looks absolutely fantastic. And here we have Batman standing pretty much straight up as he comes out of the box. And before we address the elephant in the room, I do want to go through this cape first so that we can take it off and have a better look at him. I absolutely despise this cape. Hot Toys in 2026 are still making an absolutely terrible cape for the Michael Keaton Batman figures. The capes. This is supposed to be a wired cape, but the wires aren't strong enough to do anything to make it dynamic, and the wires hinder the drape of the cape, so it's neither a drape cape nor a wired cape in my opinion. It does absolutely nothing. The material is too thick, it's too bulky, it makes the figure look very dollish or toyish because it's so bad. It's so bad. This is definitely something that people need to upgrade to either a Kelly Studio or a Jackson Shoe drape cape. It's an essential. This thing is just an absolute throwaway. Diabolical. So let me get this cape off, this hideous cape off. Now let's address the elephant in the room. The peeling of the suit. Anybody who's seen Brother Cousin's reviews, Jay, when he moved the leg of the figure, it just instantly peeled. And anybody who loves the Hot Toys and understands the value, the money, the sacrifices that we make for these figures would have felt really sorry for Jay when that happened. I'm happy to report that it seems as though Hot Toys have kind of fixed the issue. I mean, I'm bending the leg there and there's no peeling happening. I'm bending the knee there, no peeling happening. It seems as though Hot Toys in their later batches have corrected the issue. There's no peeling in the arms. You've seen in the pan that I really had the arms up and twisted. However, the belt is digging into the suit a little bit and just does leave a couple of little marks there where the belt is just digging into the suit. Just a couple of little marks. There's something that has to be, noted. But it is definitely a huge improvement on the earlier batch versions. Like I said, Jay from Brother Cousin's reviews versions and other people's versions too were absolutely atrocious. So I am happy to report that Hot Toys seem to have addressed the issue with later batches, and he is much more posable than he was in the earlier batches. So going through the details of the figure, his boots that he's wearing, they're not a split boot design, neither were the 1.0s, and y'all know that I'm not a fan of the split boots. It is one whole boot, and there is there is a little bit of articulation. We do sacrifice articulation for this one whole boot design rather than the boot. If we had the split boot, would have more articulation. But in the 1.0, we had zero articulation in the ankle, so it is an upgrade. It has everything on it except for, even has cat hair on it. Has everything on it except for the Nike swoosh. It has the air bubble in it there for the Nike trainers. Just doesn't have the swoosh. And it has all the details of this panel here with the bat symbol on the front of it. And, you know, it is a separate section, so it does give depth to it. They are a bit bulky. They're quite a large looking trainer on them. You can see all the perforations in the boot and this oversized kind of padding that was in those trainers back in the day, those high tops, where the bubble where the ankle bone or joint would be. Nice little bit of rippling effect up the back of the boots where it looks like sagging material. Really well done. There is no scuffing or weathering to them, which I don't think it's really necessary. Molded in grip on them as well, which I'd be inclined to say that is accurate, but I wouldn't know for sure. And the boots go up all the way up to the just below the knee, as they should, and they are, like I said, they are slightly different to the original 89 Batman boots. You know, they are slightly different design to the boot. And then we have his rubber suit, really nice material, really thin kind of rubber, which allows for articulation. All of the joints are ratcheted knees, ratcheted hip flexors, ratcheted torso flex, ratcheted arms. Yeah, everything will hold in place if you do want to put them in a dynamic pose, although I do believe that most Batman figures are generally left in museum poses. These suits they are a bit of a dust magnet. They're a little bit sticky, so things stick to them. I'm kind of constantly wiping down the suit. 1992 Batman Returns suit design on it there with the more kind of, how would you say, like a robotic kind of, you know, non-organic looking ab section to it compared to the 89 Batman suit. Now the eagle-eyed people will realise that, first of all, the belt is quite loose on him, which isn't my main issue. Even the suit digging into the belt, or the belt digging into the suit, isn't my main issue. My main issue here is the glue. There's a glue stain there. The glue is turned white, so there's a slight little bit of white there on the edge of the belt, which I'm absolutely not impressed with at all. It's not egregious. It's not a deal breaker. I'm not going to return the figure, but it is something worth noting that there is a little bit of glue all around with this figure. There were a lot of quality control issues. One of the worst figures I know of in regard to Hot Toys figures for quality control in regard to the peeling of the suit and just basic stuff like this glue mark here. Very out of character of Hot Toys to be leaving glue, visible glue on the figures. Now, I'm not going to mention the artisan hair glue. We'll quickly move on. Molded in fake zip on the back of it there, which is something that Michael Keaton didn't have in the 89 suit. And like I mentioned, he had a bit of claustrophobia, so he did have a zipper put into the 92 Batman suit, so he could quickly get over it when he was feeling a bit claustrophobic. All the right padding in all the right places. This molded foam all over the leather suit to give the kind of illusion of musculature. Knee pads are fixed, part of the rubber, part of the mold, and then we have the gauntlets. Gauntlets are a lot shinier than the suit. I'm not sure how accurate that is. I'd have to look back. There is a bit of a shine off them. I'm not sure if they were that shiny in the movie. The gloves are quite shiny as well. Different gloves to the ones he was wearing in 89. They don't have those silver little studs on the palm of them. These blades, quite sharp. And on the original Batman Returns figure, anybody who knows the history of Hot Toys knows that these were renowned for snapping off and were a nightmare to get back on. soft, very soft plastic material on the gauntlets, and all the right details are there, and a little bit of a kind of a rippled effect to where they would kind of come in tighter onto the wrists. Overall, not too bad at all. I'm afraid to turn it because it's sticking to the rubber. I'm afraid of breaking those blades off. So moving up, let's have a look at the sculpt. Let's get in a bit closer on this sculpt and the cowl. So here we are for the Batman Returns cowl. Quite a different cowl to the 89 Batman. A lot more streamlined, a lot smoother, some different angles in it. I personally prefer this suit to the 89, to be honest. Not just in the Hot Toys figure format, but just, you know, on screen. I just think it was a more tactical looking, more thought out suit, where the original 89 Batman suit looked like it was more homemade than this one. I'm not saying I don't like the 89 suit. I just, when I seen this one on screen in 92, I just preferred it, much preferred it. And I prefer the symbol on the Batman Returns figures, or Batman Returns character, or suit should I say. I prefer the symbol on that. The overall look of the cowl is very close to the 89, but there are those subtle differences that make all the difference. I like the details of the neckline molded in. The furrowed brow looks fantastic. The side profile looks really, really good. And even the faceplates on this figure are far superior to the Hot Toys 2.0 of the 89, and the blue and grey, which they reused the faceplates from the 89 for that one. So, talking about the faceplates, let's have a look at them all lined up together and just look at the differences in them. And here we have the 3 faceplates that come with them. The closed mouth, the slightly open mouth, and then on the far right the goofy mouth, but it's not as goofy as some of the previous ones. It's actually as goofy as it looks. It's a huge improvement, and they are getting slightly better. I think the first 2 from left to right, you know, the middle one and the one on the left are usable and serviceable. The one on the very end is not one that I would be using. It's kind of like a mid-sentence kind of one. I'm not too sure, but it's not ideal. It's nothing fantastic, but the other 2 faceplates I'm quite pleased with, and I would use either one of those. So yeah, they look far more like Keaton than the 89 Batman that we previously got. There was a lot of controversy over those faceplates, and I actually got the Jackson Shoe faceplate for that figure as an upgrade to make it look more like Keaton. So there we have it for the faceplates kind of head on. Let's have a look at some side angles of it there. Just having a look at it from the side angle again. The left one on the left there looks really like Keaton. One in the middle, not too bad, and again the one on the end still looks like Keaton. It's just not the best face expression in the world, but they are a huge improvement on the original ones that they brought out, and even on from the 1.0 they are also a huge improvement, although the 1.0 was no slouch and still holds up today. The same with the original 89 Batman DX09 was, you know, no, and still is no slouch. So moving on, let's have a look at the uncowled head sculpt, and I have to say, just simply wow. It is by far the best 1/6 scale Michael Keaton head sculpt we have ever gotten. Maybe the new Beetlejuice is quite good as well, but I mean without makeup on, just bare bones Michael Keaton human face, I suppose. You know, it is absolutely fantastic. Every angle I look at, I see Michael Keaton in 1992. Incredible head sculpt. It's just uncanny. It looks just like him. And I didn't want this head sculpt to go to waste, so I did end up getting 2 of this figure so I could have both looks for him. Because the head sculpt is so fantastic. To have him cowled and leave this head sculpt in the box would just be a crime. So I have it so I can have both looks for him, cowled and uncowled. And I have the 1.0, which we'll be doing a comparison on a bit later on. I do not regret it. This head sculpt is fantastic. Those eyebrows just look like Michael Keaton's. The Keaton lips look spot on. The little bit of 5 o'clock shadowing in the cheeks, the texture to the skin is all there. The hair mold is really well done. I'm not going to say it's the best, but it is absolutely fantastic. It looks great. To have it all, you know, all those individual strands that you can see all kind of wavy back. And I'd say it's a tough mold to do, the Michael Keaton's hair. And look how well they've hidden that back plate. They've done a phenomenal job. One of the best, if not the best, seamless looking back plates for the back of the head for getting into the access, so the access in the eyes. But they are getting much better at hiding that seam line. That is almost invisible. It's practically seamless, you know. It's very difficult to see where that seam is. Incredible job by Hot Toys to do that. Everything about this head sculpt is Michael Keaton. There's nothing flawed about this head sculpt, in my opinion. There's nothing wrong. As a huge fan of Michael Keaton, I'm absolutely blown away by this head sculpt. Little bit of crow's feet, you know, it's got everything it needs to have. Every angle looks just like Keaton. I just keep staring at it. It's absolutely fantastic, and it would be a shame to have to leave this in the box, to be honest. So let's move on and do a quick comparison with the older Batman figure. Actually, first of all, the cape issue. Here we have the 2.0 Batman Returns figure with the custom aftermarket Jackson shoe drape cape on it, and when I show you the kind of side by side with the out of the box cape, this drape's much better than the Hot Toys one. It doesn't have that bulkiness to it, the thickness to it, and it elevates the figure to the next level to make it look far more realistic. And what I mean by that, if I just stand my other copy of the 2.0 Batman Returns figure, let me just get this a bit more correct looking. If it can be corrected, I don't think it can be. There's not really a whole lot you can do with it. It's just atrocious. But the difference there is night and day. I mean, looking at that is most definitely, you know, a reason to go aftermarket. There's no denying that the drape cape is far superior, the aftermarket cape. There's no futs in this one. There's no way of making the Hot Toys one look decent. It's really bad. And it does make the figure look toyish or dollish. His head is slightly off. There we go. It does make the figure look dollish or toyish, as I said, where the one on the left there looks absolutely fantastic. I do totally recommend spending the extra few dollars or euros or whatever your currency may be and getting this custom cape. Not necessarily the Jackson shoe one. Kelly Studio do one as well, which I am going to order. I'm not overly impressed with kind of this little bowing effect that happens here. I think it's unavoidable though, and I just wonder if the Kelly Studio one does this sit a bit better. And when I get the Kelly Studio one in, I will do a comparison between the two, the Jackson shoe or the Kelly Studio. The Kelly Studio does advertise that it has the stitching down the ribs of it, where Jackson's shoe it's just kind of stuck this almost like a rubber down the seams of it, which I'm not sure is entirely accurate. I think there was stitching down it, and I think the stitching would be more accurate. Like I said, when I get the Kelly Studio one in, I will do a comparison. In regard to the Hot Toys cape and the Jackson shoe one, it is worth the investment if you want to elevate your figure to the next level. Just showing you a side profile. Look at that Hot Toys cape is so bad. It's just a hot mess. It's an absolute hot mess, that cape. It's there's no fixing it. You can foot that for hours, it's not going to look good. And the Jackson shoe one just looks so much better. Just throw it on, no messing about. So as I said, it is worth the investment to just spend the extra money and get the aftermarket cape. So moving on, let's do a comparison with the older 1.0 Batman figure. I'm going to keep the stock one for this comparison, and let me reach over here and grab the original 1.0 Batman Returns figure with his original cape on, showing his age now. His knee joints are gone, really weak, they're not very strong. They are ratcheted. The right leg there is strong enough, but the left leg there is just, the ratchets are just gone really weak and doesn't hold its position at all. But what I'll do is, first of all, the cape on this one, it's deteriorating. I'm not sure if it's picking up on camera, but this was made out of a pleather. And first of all, the spikes on his gauntlets really, really sharp. They dug into the cape and put marks in the cape, and it's all deteriorating up in this section here. So a necessity back in the day to get an aftermarket cape for this guy. But to be honest with you, I still think this is a better cape than the newer one. The 1.0 cape still looks better, the pleather cape, than this newer piece of trash that Hot Toys have put on the newer one. But still, the pleather deteriorated, and it was always going to be an issue. So let me get the capes off, and we'll just have a comparison with the suits and what the differences are. And here we have the two Batman Returns figures. The older original 1.0 and the 2.0 on the right. And straight off the bat, you can see that the proportions are quite different. Let me bring some more light up here, if I can get this light to switch on. Hope that's better for you. The legs are a lot thicker on the 1.0 and slightly out of proportion on the older one, where they're thinner and more in proportion. The waist is more tapered in on the newer one, where it's just kind of like a square shape to the older one. It's more tapered in and looks more like a human inside the suit. And you see the chest piece is sitting lower on the newer one. And even the bulkiness of the shoulders are way more in proportion to Michael Keaton or a human being than the older one. Now, the older one is still no slouch. It's still a fantastic figure to have. One of the biggest differences is the boots. The boots in the older one, they look more in proportion to the figure. You can see how thin the ankle is there. And now, I'd have to look back in the movie, but I don't remember them being as bulky as they are on the 2.0 there. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're too small on the 1.0. I'd have to look back, but the difference in there is quite, obvious. But looking at them side by side, the older ones just look more in proportion and don't look as hefty and bulky. But there is far more detail in the newer ones. Far more detail with the separate sections, where this is all one mold. And it is one whole boot, but there's zero articulation. It's a solid plastic. So there was no articulation in the 1.0. So there are definitely upgrades there. And the belts are two different colours, and the Batman symbol is a different colour. The heights are almost identical, as you can see there. You can see that there's more of a yellow on the symbol and the belt on the 2.0. The arms just seem a little bit... You can see how much higher up the gauntlet is there on the arm of the older one to the new one, and the shoulder height looks a bit taller as well. I don't know, it's weird. They're the same height, but there are some things that are longer than others. It's I don't know, there's definitely some differences there in the body, as you can see. Much bulkier figure, the 1.0. There's a lot more air space or air pocket space in the 1.0 compared to this one here. And even the ab crunch on this one here, it doesn't stay. It's not ratcheted, so it crunches, but it's not going to stay. Where this one here has a ratchet in it, and it does stay in a crunch if necessary. The body underneath the suit is a huge improvement, a huge upgrade to the 1.0. Not just the proportions, but the strength of it with the ratchets as well. So let's just get a quick close-up on the 1.0 and the 2.0 cowls. and the faceplates compared to the newer one. And as you can see here, we have the 2.0 on the left and the 1.0 on the right there. And again, the difference is night and day. The cowl is shinier on the 2.0. Again, I'm not sure how accurate that is. I think it is more accurate. It's very matte on the 1.0. It's a wider sculpt as well, and the faceplate is more Michael Keaton skin tone, where Hot Toys used to make their figures a little bit more tan than they should have been back in the day. Way more detail in the faceplate on the 2.0. You know, it looks like a human face inside, where on the 1.0 it kind of looks like a figure, but still no slouch and looks absolutely fantastic. And I'm quite happy to have both of them. So moving on then, we will have a look at the original 1.0 Batman Returns with the Jackson shoe drape cape on. And what I want to do is I just want to check the compatibility with this head sculpt, where that way anybody who has the 1.0, if you do get the 2.0, you can essentially have the two looks out of them without having to buy a second figure like I did. So let's pop the head sculpt off here. There we go. Pop this piece on it. Now, from what I know, it's the same mold as the 1.0. From what I hear, it's exactly the same mold. This piece, this torn cowl, as the 1.0. So I don't see why it wouldn't fit. A little bit stiff, a little bit tight. There would be some futzing to be done, but it does go on, it does work. There's a little bit more of a gap than there is with the 2.0. Maybe if I push it down a little bit further, there's a little bit more of a gap than with the 2.0. The 2.0 kind of sits on his chin, but absolutely acceptable, absolutely compatible. So if you do have the 1.0, you can essentially, you know, utilize the head sculpt and the torn cowl with the 1.0 figure and not have to buy a second 2.0 to get the second look out of them. That's completely acceptable. It looks the part. Absolutely fantastic. No issues with that whatsoever. I have the two deluxe 2.0s because I will be making a Bruce Wayne out of the second head sculpt. So I'm going to have essentially the torn cowl, the cowled look, and a Bruce Wayne. So nothing in my 2.0s will go to waste. But that looks absolutely fantastic with the head sculpt on the 1.0. So essentially, that's pretty much it. A long video, a detailed video. Thanks very much for watching. If you made it this far, thank you very much. And please don't hesitate to hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps out the channel. And I suppose I will leave it at that, and I will catch you in the next one. Take care.